Good afternoon. My name is Max Locke, and I am the founder of Shipstr. My story begins 4 years ago as a freshman in high school manufacturing organic, locally sourced ice cream. I was importing my paper pint cups from China, and I realized that the frozen yogurt industry also needed paper cups. So I set up a call center in Central America, and over 100 customers and 10 million cups later, I graduated this past June from high school with a virtual PhD in ocean shipping. Today, tens of thousands of small businesses rely on this guy, a freight broker for international shipments. Freight brokers make arrangements with ocean carriers, customs brokers, warehouses, and trucking companies. They take days to get quotes that are full of hidden fees. They take days to get a status update and even your own shipping documents. And it's incredibly expensive because freight brokers take fat margins. You use a freight broker so you can have one throat to choke. However, things go wrong and they disappear. And so do those service providers, and eventually your money. Then you need to waste even more time to try and recover from this. Any industry that delivers poor service for high prices deserves to be disrupted, and that's why I created Shipstr. Shipstr provides you transparent access to those service providers. We allow you to book service providers based off of rating. You can see their past reliability, and we also provide a unified place for shipping documents and communication. Today, what takes days, Shipstr does in minutes. And we also save you 30 to 60% in the process. Let's switch to the demo and see what Shipstr can do. We want to make quoting extremely easy when users come to our site. So let's say I'm shipping my paper cups from Ningbo, China to Los Angeles, California in a 40-foot container. First, we confirm your initial input and automatically calculate the service providers you need to get from your origin to your destination. In my case, the customer doesn't need the service providers in the US, so I can go ahead and deselect those. First, we need a trucking company to get the goods from a factory to a warehouse by the port. Today, freight brokers shield you from all of these options. Now we get to decide. Next, we need to know what warehouse it's going to. Who knew there were so many options? And then a customs broker to make sure the shipment can leave China. Now I have the flexibility to choose based off of price. And finally, we need an ocean carrier. Reliability is extremely important to me here. So if you click on the reliability, you'll see we've aggregated public customs data to see how this carrier has performed over time. Costco looks good, so let's proceed to the summary. Here we summarize all of the carriers you've selected, and let's move on to the booking form. We need a few more pieces of information, such as where you're shipping from and your payment information. And once you do that, your shipment is booked. You then move into Shipstr's team room, which provides a unified place for shipping documents and communication, which helps improve our customer retention rate. Shipstr will also aggregate news and weather updates, such as port strikes or storms that could impact your shipment. Shipstr will have a sister site that allows service providers to be onboarded, update their prices, and manage their shipments. Let's switch back to the slides to talk about our initial target market. First, we need to determine a trade route. The busiest trade routes are between Asia and the US. Shipstr is focusing on Ningbo, China, the 7th busiest port in the world, to Los Angeles, California, the busiest in the US. Now think of everything around you. The shirts on your back, the seats you're sitting in, the devices you're typing on. They all made their way here thanks to ocean shipping. With over 18 million containers making 200 million trips annually, it's not hard to imagine how Shipstr will scale globally. We'll expand to more ports in China, more ports in the US, and add the next country and so on. Over time, Shipstr will cover the world's busiest trade routes. And we've seen this movie before with consumer travel. We used to book our travel through a travel agent. Now we book our travel through our devices. So much technology exists for consumer travel, yet nothing exists for container freight. Shipstr will stand on the shoulders of the freight that helps move people, or the technology that helps move people, to create revolutionary technology that moves containers. Please visit shipstr.com to register your interest. Thank you.
What are the types of businesses that you're targeting for your initial launch? Like what size, how far along, how tech savvy?
So we're targeting the tens to thousands of small and medium-sized businesses that import from the textiles and electronic factories surrounding Ningbo. There's over 40,000 importers that just use that lane in the US. And then as we add more lanes, the number of importers just grows. And we know all of those importers because all of their contact information is in public customs records, so we can target them directly.
Where do you get the data that populates the quality and pricing fields?
So we look at a couple of things. Most of it's based off of the customs data. So we can look at when a shipment left the port in China through the Chinese custom data to see when it entered the port in the US. And then we pull in the shipping company's information to see how long they estimate that time to be. And we track how many actually made it in that time and how many didn't. And they also get more of a deduction if a container says it left China but never arrived in the US.
And the pricing data?
So the pricing data is provided when we onboard our service providers. We can get that in a few different ways. Either we can integrate with their API. A lot of companies in China don't have an API, but they store a lot of their pricing in Excel spreadsheets. So we can parse through their Excel spreadsheets to automatically import their pricing data, or they can manually update it, or if it's large enough, we can build into their legacy system.
Is there anything that you optimize around customs? Because it seems like it's one of the very complicated pieces in shipping internationally.
Sure. So we're just connecting you with those customs brokers. Now you have the freedom to select customs brokers that are either more reliable, more experienced in the industry, whereas before you're just assigned one from your freight broker or your freight forwarder. But we don't actually handle the customs ourselves. That's up to the service providers to do.
So you talk a lot about the small businesses and medium-sized businesses that would be using this that are otherwise struggling like you did.
Yeah.
What percentage of that is that of overall freight? And is there something that you can do that would actually move you up where you'd actually be helping some of the larger companies that are very frequently shipping things and might have other pre-arrangements in already?
Sure. So this technology will scale to different size companies. The reason we didn't target those larger organizations is either they have an in-house staff that deals with logistics, or they have a dedicated representative from these freight brokerage companies. But there's so many shipments for the small to medium-sized businesses, and they're totally underserved.
And do you know what the percentage breakdown is between the sort of larger companies and sort of the market you're initially going after?
So in the initial market, one of the reasons we picked Ningbo to Los Angeles is because the majority of the market is based off of these small to medium-sized businesses, where some of the larger companies are going to go after the larger ports.
So if there's a problem or delay in my shipment, do I have to go and follow up with the individual carriers, warehouse, so on and so forth, or can I just call you?
So we have two things. The first is now you can actually contact the service provider directly instead of having to go through a broker who then has to wait a day to hear back from them. So it definitely expedites the process to go to that exact person. But sometimes there will be problems, and we understand that. So we will have a dispute resolution team that we'll be able to overlook, but we expect a relatively low number of shipments that we'd have to get majorly involved with.
How high touch is your business in terms of people that you need to be talking to, service providers, providing customer support, versus how much of it is scalable with just technology?
Sure. So the shipper really has control over how much interaction they want to have throughout the process. Because it's all put into a team room, the service providers can share documents back and forth, which would not require involvement of the shipper or of the freight broker like it does today. So that's semi-automated. But you can now also communicate with them directly. So if you want to be involved and you want to know exactly where your shipment is, you can now contact the person who knows that.
For you as a company, for Shipstr as a company, how high touch do you have to be in onboarding new service providers or onboarding new customers?
So we definitely, one of the main things we have to do is recruit these service providers. And the challenge is going to be recruiting service providers overseas because they don't have as much information publicly available. but we can guarantee them payment through our escrow system, which is highly attractive to them, and we can also bring them a larger stream of business, which they haven't had in the past.
In terms of your revenues, you then take a cut out of what a customer would be paying like to those providers, or how does it work?
So the shipper never sees any money that we take. The service providers upload their pricing, and then we uplift that price so to show what the shipper actually sees.
Any other questions? You said you graduated from school how long ago?
I just graduated from high school in June.
All right, well, congratulations. I mean, you just went toe-to-toe with VCs. Fantastic job. Shipstr. Thank you guys very much.